And we're live. Hello. Welcome to the Sunday night streaming EVILIVE show. I got to figure out a better way to say that. I don't like the way that it's spoken. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Got problems. Let's go to Facebook real quick and get our linky links up, right? I got to tell you, it's a lot harder. That's the one thing I don't like about the YouTubes is that getting it on Facebook proves to be more of a challenge. So I got to put a thing and then I got to post the link. It's annoying. It's a little annoying, but I'm not complaining. I'm really, really not complaining. As a matter of fact, the channel has been growing. It's been really, really nice, actually. Everybody has been sort of transitioning over fairly easily, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you, everybody. Might get a little bleed through here. Let's mute that so we don't get that. Yeah. Numbers have been, decent, I guess. I would like to do more live streaming shows, but I still gotta be selective. I don't want to do too much. Here, let's write a little posty post here. Just letting people know on the Facebook, live on YouTube for streaming. Right. Streaming EVILIVE on YouTube right now. Link in comments. So interesting to hear this stuff, right? All right, it's just part of the this is why I need a Jamie. I need a Jamie from the Joe Rogan show. Jamie, look that up. Pull it up. Look it up. So here. There we go. All right, link in comments. Let's go to the group. You guys belong to the group? Who belongs to the group? Anybody? Who here's in the group? Let's see. Sorry, I can't see anybody. Hey, what's up, Oni? Oni says, hail. Hail. Who are we hailing when we do that? Honestly, I want to know. Truly want to know. All right. Matt Best gets a shout out because he totally hooked it up for tonight. Totally hooked it up. Let's see here. Just got to create one more post. Streaming EVILIVE right now on YouTube in comments. Right. Got that rolling. Can launch into the situation. All right, there's the link there. And okay, let's take a look here at the thing. There we go. So freaking slow. My internet is terrible right now. It might help to free up some of the programs. This is such exciting content. Let me tell you what. Don't understand Oni. Don't understand. I don't get it. Who saw Dave Chappelle on SNL? I heard he was pretty awesome. Streaming EVILIVE on YouTube right now. Link in comments. All right. But he was pretty good. That Dave Chappelle from the Chappelle Show. Chappelle Show. It's the most least exciting part of the broadcast. All right. So, look, guys, if you're not subscribed already, please do so. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video. share the video, leave a comment, anything. All of this helps. All of this helps. In the body of the text, there's so many ways you can support the creation of this content. Go take a look if you feel like it. And we're going to and one last thing. So 1979 is coming to YouTube, in case you didn't realize. Dave Chappelle is not on YouTube. Is not still on, but he was the host of SNL, and he knocked it out of the park with his stand-up. I thought it was really great. So as I was saying, yeah, sorry, like brain fog today. 1979 is coming to YouTube. It's the neutered version. It's only 3 hours. It's not 3.5 hours. That version will not be made public, unfortunately. And that's Friday the 13th at 1 p.m. So set a reminder for that. Subscribe to the channel. Get your ducks in a row. That's coming. Just want to let you know. Tonight's content comes via Matt. I already forgot his last name. I gotta shout this guy out because he hooked it up. Hold on. I was like, man, what am I going to do for the show tonight? I already did a show this week. I don't want to do 2 shows. It's not good. Not good to do 2 shows. Matt Best. I have to thank Matt Best in the Lodi Facebook group. If you don't belong to the Lodi Facebook group, please check it out. Matt Best totally hooked it up with the following content. So what we're going to explore today is a brand new interview from Glenn Danzig that came out November 8th, today, Sunday. Brand new interview with Glenn. I feel like an excited school child right now. Here it is from MovieWeb. This is exclusive, by the way. This is from MovieWeb. Glenn Danzig explains how he ended up writing songs for 1987's Less Than Zero. This should be interesting. We all know kind of we've talked a little bit about the span of what was going on at that time. That was at the very beginning of Danzig. As a matter of fact, he didn't even use the Danzig name for those songs. He used Glenn Danzig and the Power and Fury Orchestra. Eerie Von doesn't even play on the track. They had a studio player do it. And Danzig 1 hadn't even come out yet. And it was a transitional year. The band is more evolving from being Samhain and sort of getting polished by Rick Rubin, who provided this opportunity for Glenn. That's right, Oni. It was the transition time from Samhain to Danzig. Well said. Rubin is polishing the band into Danzig from being Samhain. He sees Samhain in July of 1986. He says, I want to sign you, Glenn. I don't want to sign your band members. Both London May and Pete Damian Marshall were jettisoned. And, the new guys, Chuck Biscuits gets brought in. John Christ gets brought in. The band changes their name. It's no longer Samhain. Eerie Von stays on. Although initially I believe he was not to stay on, but Glenn was like, Eerie has to be there. Eerie's my man. And it's interesting to think that, Eerie really saw so much from the Misfits days all the way through the Danzig days. So in any case, without further ado, here's the interview. Let's take a look. We're going to read it and we're going to comment on it. Brand new Glenn Danzig interview that dropped today. Eerie Von didn't want to record the bass for Less Than Zero, I think. Yeah, he said that, and Glenn has said that. And I don't want to like contradict. What do I know? I wasn't there, but a part of me like thinks about this logically and wonders, is that really true? Is that the case? Or was Eerie just not cutting it and they brought in a session player? If you think about it, this is the first true session with these guys, and maybe they were not up to snuff yet in the session. At least maybe Eerie wasn't up to snuff for what was needed for the session yet. I don't know. All right, so here's this interview. The interview is from MovieWeb. It's by Ryan J. Downey, and it was posted today, November 8th, 2020. Ready? Okay. Here's our little introduction. Glenn Danzig is best known as the singer and band leader for the seminal horror punk band for the seminal horror punks, the Misfits. His I can't say that word. Eponimously monikered hard rock band Danzig. Okay, so it means like his taking on his last name, right? And his hit song Mother. But a deeper look into his discography reveals a connection to Hollywood, one that predates the 90s rumors that he was offered the role of Wolverine in X-Men. He was, but I don't know how serious that was. I don't know how. I believe those were very preliminary talks, and this was like 1994. They wouldn't shoot the movie for 6 years, so who knows what would have really become of that. But yes, supposedly there were talks for sure. His music's inclusion in an episode of the X-Files, which was a song called Deep, I believe, and the Hangover movies. That's right, the Hangover movies. Each Hangover movie features a Glenn Danzig song. The first one is 13. Hey, what's up, Russell Casualty? How are you? Welcome to the fold. So the first one is 13. The second one is, what's the second one? Black Hell, I think. And that's just when Glenn is literally, it's like he's got like a checkerboard out there, and he's just like, he's got the words like black, demon, baby, troll, stalactite, fire, lava, and he's just like, okay, I'll write a song called Black Lava, Black Hell. And then the third one, I think he wrote a song for the third one. I don't remember what the third one. Does anybody know what the third Hangover movie? Which one? What Glenn Danzig song is on there? I don't remember. It was fun to see that though. I was so stoked when I was watching. I was watching that in the theater. I was on a date with a girl, and the 13 came on. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Oni says, I think I heard he was approached by Fox or Marvel to start. It would have been Fox maybe, because I don't think Marvel was really in the saddle at that point. He was approached by Fox or Marvel to star as Wolverine, but the commitment would have interfered with his touring schedule. Yeah, it's possible. Probably was making more money touring than he would have made on that movie. Although who knows, maybe it would have led to more roles. But somehow, even if Glenn looked the part, I don't know if he would be able to do it. Oh, Robbie Bloodshed, it was Mother in the third movie. Huh. Interesting. So, and his eventual debut as a writer-director with last year's gory anthology, Veronica. Yeah, that's one way to put it. We did a whole episode on Veronica. Check it out. Released in 1987, the song "You and Me," Less Than Zero, on the Less Than Zero soundtrack is credited to the Glenn Danzig and the Power and Fury Orchestra. And alongside tracks by LL Cool J, The Bangles, and Slayer. Slayer is also another Rick Rubin enterprise. Bob Hoskins. Yeah, that would have been a weird. If Bob Hoskins played Wolverine, that would have been bizarre. Super bizarre. Black Hell is funny. It's a funny track because it's just going to be like, I don't even remember. I just feel like the chorus. What was the chorus? Was just like Black Hell, just like over and over again, just saying Black Hell. Like, what are the lyrics to Black Hell? Like, should we find out let's see what the lyrics are for Black Hell? Danzig. Right. Black Hell was written for The Hangover. This is so ridiculous. Ready? Look at this. These are the lyrics to Black Hell. It's gonna rain down like black hell. You don't know what it's like to be dead. I'm gonna teach you now, teach you well. You're gonna learn how to live in black hell. So funny. It's gonna rain down like black hell. It's gonna rain down like Black Hell. That's it. Those are all the lyrics. I just said all the lyrics. It was that fast. Interesting. Yeah, but Slayer, who was also on the soundtrack, that was another Rick Rubin band. And another person on that soundtrack was Danzig. Danzig contribution. Sorry, another Danzig contribution, which was Life Fades Away, which was done by the man himself, Roy Orbison, co-written with Roy Orbison, I guess, who performed vocals and guitar. So Glenn got to write a song for Johnny Cash, but he also wrote a song for Roy Orbison. In this recently what? Now I'm really mad because it said exclusive and it said November 8th. We got tricked, you guys. In this recently unearthed interview conducted 30 years later, Danzig told the story behind his involvement with the soundtrack to the classic 80s movie and the Power and Fury Orchestra. So in this recently unearthed interview conducted 30 years later, saying it's been conducted 30 years later, but why would it be unearthed? Makes it sound like it was old, like it wasn't it's lost to time. Who knows? All right, I'm gonna shut up. I'm the 16 minutes that we've been rolling, I feel like I've just been stumbling over my words. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry. Okay. Less than a year after his small role as a romantic rival to one of the heroes in Weird Science, Robert Downey Jr. turned in a memorable supporting performance in the Rodney Dangerfield vehicle Back to School. Obviously, our man Robert Downey Jr. would go on to make bank as Iron Man, right? I am Iron Man. Around the same time, Back to School was in theaters. Multi-platinum producer Rick Rubin went to see Glenn Danzig perform with Samhain at New York's New Music Seminar. That's the final Samhain show from the original band. Reportedly encouraged to do so by Metallica bassist and major Misfits fan Cliff Burton. That I did not know. So it was Cliff Burton who told Rick Rubin to go. Who told Rick Rubin to go down there and check it out. That is fascinating. Rubin was at the center of a cultural revolution with Def Jam Records, the label responsible for massive albums by Run DMC, Beastie Boys, frickin' Public Enemy, and Slayer. Danzig began Samhain immediately following the 1983 breakup of the Misfits. We know this. Together with longtime Misfits friend and photographer Erie Vaughn, Samhain explored similar themes, but was much darker and menacing in image and tone. That's the first time I've seen like a reporter who doesn't know anything about Samhain actually kind of like peg what Samhain kind of is in a very, like, if you don't know anything about this music or this scene or the niche, like actually kind of like pegs it. I think that's pretty good. That was pretty good. After the New Music Seminar gig, Rubin signed Samhain. Rubin suggested Glenn change the band's name to simply Danzig after the entrance of new guitarist John Christ. It was somewhere in this period that Rubin agreed to produce the soundtrack for the latest Brat Pack film, Less Than Zero. Everybody knows who the Brat Pack were. They were the teen stars of the day in the 80s. It's loosely based on Less Than Zero is loosely based on the Bret Easton Ellis novel of the same name. And Bret Easton Ellis also wrote another novel that became very famous in the year 2000, American Psycho, of which there's also a new Misfits song, I should say. Andrew McCarthy played a college freshman who returns home to Los Angeles for Christmas break to discover his high school girlfriend, Jamie Gertz, and best friend, Robert Downey, are not only sleeping together, but hopelessly addicted to drugs. Years before he squared off as against Iron Man as Ultron, James Spader, who co-starred in Pretty in Pink with McCarthy, played a drug dealer menacing Downey's troubled Less Than Zero character. In much the same way, he would later revive the career of Johnny Cash by pairing the country icon with contemporary rock songwriters. Rubin put Glenn Danzig and Orbison in a room together. The resulting song, Life Fades Away, was one of two Danzig co-writes for Less Than Zero. The other, which became the title track, is a 50s style ballad on which Rubin shares credit. I did not know that. So Rubin shares a writing credit for the song You and Me, Less Than Zero, with Glenn Danzig. That's so interesting. The melody, is that like, hold on a second. So if you think about it, Orbison and Rubin are the only two people to share songwriting credit with Glenn Danzig. Glenn Danzig took songwriting credit for a song called The Hunter. But that doesn't really count because he took full credit for the song. These are the two times where Glenn acknowledges someone else as a songwriter along with him for something. And maybe that's why he wanted to call it Glenn Danzig and the Power and Fury Orchestra too. Who knows? We'll find out as we continue to read. We lost the thing. The resulting song, Life Fades Away, blah, 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 blah. It's a 50 style ballad, which Rubin shares credit. I wonder why he does for lyrics. The melody is reminiscent of the 1967 hit To Sir With Love by Scottish singer Lulu. I got to go check it. Now I got to go listen to that song, which appeared on the soundtrack of the film by the same name, starring screen legend Sidney Poitier. The recording features drummer Chuck Biscuits, who prior to his 4-album stint with Danzig was a member of crucial punk bands DOA, Black Flag, and Circle Jerks. It's kind of amazing. The resume of Chuck Biscuits is incredible. All the bands that he played with. His work can also be heard on the Rick Rubin produced Run DMC album, Tougher Than Leather. Wow. So did he play drums on that whole album? No, he did not. Tougher Than Leather. It's a full album by Run DMC, right? And let's see. Let's find out right now. Let's go down to drums. Probably Rubin had Chuck Biscuits in Danzig and was like, "Hey, I need a dude. Need a dude to come down." Although, you know what? I am not seeing personnel. Usually they put the personnel. Huh? How do you like that? Let's see here. There's no mention made of Chuck Biscuits here. Fascinating. John Christ plays guitar, and Danzig, of course, sings. Bass was performed by George Drocalius, who later produced albums by the Black Crowes, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and Loudermilk. What a name. What a band name. Loudermilk. Interesting band name. Among others, in more recent years, Dracolius was music supervisor on several movies, including School of Rock, Tropic Thunder, and 2009 Star Trek reboot. Beastie Boys dropped his name on Paul's Boutique, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, and Dead Man named characters after him. Wow, so this guy's got a slice of pop culture named after him. Star Trek even named an alien creature, the Dracalius, in his honor. So here's what's interesting. So they get this guy George. I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name again. They get this guy George D to play bass. But if Glenn is such a good bass player, as he proclaims all the time, why didn't he just simply play bass? I don't understand that. Copies of the soundtrack album misspelled the singer's name as Glenn with one N rather than Glenn with two N's. In this interview conducted around the... Okay, so that's why this was... Okay, so going back up here, it says Unearthed Interview. So this interview was performed in 2015, and that's why it's considered unearthed, but it's 30 years later that it's being discussed now. Or it was 1987. So it's actually 32 years. I don't know. The math is all wrong here. In this interview conducted around the release of Glenn Danzig's 2015 cover album, Skeletons, the singer-songwriter and Los Angeles resident pulled back the curtain on his Less Than Zero music. So they did a long interview with Glenn, right? And they do a really long interview with Glenn, and portions of the interview remain unreleased. And, you could save that content for another day. And that's clearly what happened here. Hold on, we have a few comments. Rick Rubin probably helped with the arrangements. Okay, so here's what's interesting though. Does helping with the arrangements equal songwriting credit? Because if so, didn't Jerry and Doyle help arrange the Misfits material? Answer me that. Riddle me that. Russell Casualty says, wasn't Erie a parking lot attendant in the Run DMC video? I have no idea, but Russell, you're going to be my Jamie, my Joe Rogan Jamie. Pull that ish up. Pull it up, Russell. Pull it up. Oni says, oh yeah, Rick Rubin probably sampled Chuck Biscuit's drum hits. Thank you. That's a good explanation for that. That makes sense. And I later would learn, because I'm listening to this podcast about Sublime, the 40 Ounces of Freedom record. There was a law that came out in 1992, and that stopped people from sampling copyrighted material. Before that, it was the Wild Wild West. So they probably could sample Chuck Biscuit's drum beats and get away with it and not have to worry. And plus, Rick is cool with Chuck. I'm sure it was probably all copacetic. Maybe even broke him off a little piece and was like, hey, we're going to use your drum, whatever. I don't know. Or maybe it wasn't even him. Technically that money would go to the songwriter, even if Chuck was the one playing the drums on it. I don't know. I honestly don't know. In any case, so we're now reading from a 2015, 5 years ago now. God, the time passes. 5 years ago, 2015, Skeletons era interview with Glenn. And here is the interviewer. Your enthusiasm for this material really comes out in your performance. The production style really captures the energy too. It sounds like a band in a room. Glenn Danzig. Yeah, most of it's recorded live, and then we do overdubs afterwards. But I still record analog, It goes into a tape machine, it goes into the board, and then it gets dumped into Pro Tools system. I still do real drums. I still record through real recording board. I still record through a real recording board. So there you go. So interesting. So it goes into a tape machine. He records analog in the sense that it goes into a tape machine, it goes into the board, and then it gets dumped into Pro Tools. So does he like scan the tape? Who knows? Interviewer. People making records on laptops may not understand the warmth and electricity that comes from a reel-to-reel or a Nev console. Analog is becoming a lost art. Glenn Danzig. Yeah, it is. I actually just started working back at the old studio, Hollywood Studio Recorders. I used to work at it with Rick Rubin in Hollywood. It's one of the only real recording studios left in Hollywood. Those kinds of studios have trouble keeping their doors open. Glenn Danzig. Well, this place is booked a lot because it's one of the only games in town, and it's a great recording studio. Interview. I think if you hear me doing Glenn's voice, we know that it's Glenn speaking, and if I'm speaking like this, it's the interviewer. Your songs have been covered many times by Metallica and others. You've also written for other artists like the late Roy Orbison and Johnny Cash. The song "You and Me" from Less Than Zero, "You and Me Less Than Zero" from Less Than Zero soundtrack was first intended for a female vocalist, right? I did not know. Interesting. Glenn Danzig. Yeah, Rick wanted me to write the song. He told me the premise and what he wanted it to sound like. So I wrote the song, and I had to do a demo vocal on it. So we recorded all the tracks. I'm pretty sure I played all the Hammond B3, which is an organ. Rick didn't know what a Hammond B3 or a Leslie was at the time. I had to tell him what it was. He wanted to have a girl sing it. I think I've read this interview before, actually. At the time, he was thinking of signing a girl because he always wanted a really good girl singer on his label. Rick was having a hard time finding a girl he wanted to sing the song. Def Jam was still with CBS Records, group through Columbia Records at the time. They heard the song and they were like, well, this guy's doing a great job. We should use this. Rick asked me if they could use it, and I said, sure, I don't care, That's really the story. So this is not like meant to be this is like a gig. It's almost like Rubin's gotten him a gig. You know what I mean? This is not meant to be any sort of Danzig output. That would come on Danzig 1. So it's more like almost as if that he was hired in a way. He was kind of like hired for this job. Interestingly enough, like this was not something. This is one of the few times where Glenn was asked to do something. He's just starting his brand new major label professional career, and he's being asked to do a song, and he's going, "Sure, I'll do it." And he's not doing it as Danzig. He's doing it as Glenn Danzig and the Power Fury Orchestra. So is that demo vocal that's on the final album, or did you recut it, Glenn Danzig? No, that's the original vocal. If I'm doing a vocal for a girl to come in and redo it, it has to be exactly as if it was going to be used. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think that makes sense. Rick Rubin signed Samhain, which became Danzig while you were making the album. Where did You and Me Less Than Zero fall into that timeline, Glenn Danzig? Later and during, because it took us a while to record the first Danzig record. We did the first Danzig record at 3 different studios. During that time period, Rubin was also working on the Less Than Zero soundtrack. Was there any particular reason that you chose to credit the song to Glenn Danzig and the Power and Fury Orchestra rather than Danzig or Samhain? Glenn Danzig. No, that was Rick's idea. Rick was going to be calling all of his orchestral stuff, and he did the Power and Fury Orchestra. Rick was going to be calling all of his orchestra stuff that he did the Power and Fury Orchestra. So, okay. So this was the Power and Fury Orchestra was Rick Rubin's like vehicle. That was his thing. That wasn't Glenn. Because Glenn was singing with it. It was Glenn Danzig and the Power Fury Orchestra and the Power and Fury Orchestra. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I like that it's credited that way because it adds to the unique vibe of the song, sort of like how Who Killed Marilyn was released as Glenn Danzig's song in 1983. Who Killed Marilyn was my first solo single, yeah. What's the status of the Samhain catalog? Glad he's asking. This is from 2015, though, so 5 years later. Go figure. It's not in print anywhere, and if you see anything out there, it's probably a bootleg. Hopefully, we'll be able to re-release it sometime in the future. We have plans to put everything back out on vinyl and CD. We'll probably make a lot of stuff available again digitally, too. Oh, man. What? Yo, okay, so the full unedited audio of this interview is available via the Speak and Destroy podcast. Should we listen over there? Damn. What? No, it's Patreon. No. I guess I could do that. Bonus episodes with folks like Glenn Danzig. Oh, cool. $5 per month. What if I just pay $5 one time? Am I good? How does that stuff work? Damn. Hit a paywall. I would love to hear that full interview. That would be interesting for sure. Damn, got baited. That's right. We did. Hold on. All is not lost, though, because I have one other thing we can look at before we call it a day. So shout out to Felipe. I don't know how to say your last name. I don't know how to say anybody's last name. Have we learned this by now that I don't know how to say mother effers' last names at all? Felipe C from Chile, Santiago, Chile, South America, I believe, right? Felipe, I don't know if you listen sometimes. You're on the stream. He sent me some stuff from last week. I had actually forgotten. Actually, it wasn't last week. I think it was on Wednesday because we did an episode on Wednesday. Impromptu episode, no less. So Bobby Steele was very active on MySpace, right? And what he used to do is he would write these blogs. He'd write out these blogs, and it's so cool that they still exist because, you know, Bobby does not like, as I said on the pre-post 1979 post-show, Bobby does not like to talk about the Misfits anymore. Yeah, good question, Russell. It's not that I'm too cheap and don't want to pay the $3. I'll do it. I'll go back and I'll do it. I just don't want to do it right now on the air and blah, 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 blah. we could pick that up another time. If someone is a Patreon and wants to contribute the file, if they have it, that's great. If not, I'm happy to support that dude's Patreon for content that we can use for this thing. But I'm not going to do it right now. We have this Bobby thing. We'll do the Bobby thing. We'll come back to this another time. But if anybody wants to put up now, they can put up now. Otherwise, I'll order the Patreon myself. I'll use from the coffers of what people have donated for this project. Anyway, so this is called Beware of Misfits, and this is about some of you may have read this. I read this a long time ago. I read this. And yeah, that was the cool thing about Bobby, is that he would just, he'd post this stuff on MySpace. It was super fun to read, and just really enjoyed it. So Bobby doesn't like talking about the Misfits anymore. Tanner, you know what the thing is? I'm not saying that he doesn't like to talk about the Misfits. Honestly, that's just, Bobby's never said that. Well, actually, he kind of has. He said that in interviews. I'm sure that when you and Joe hang out with him and get pizza, or whatever, I'm sure he's happy to talk about Misfits with you guys, or happy to talk Misfits privately. But I've heard, when I was putting together 1979, and I'm going through these more recent interviews, as recent as 2014, 2015, something like that, when they ask him Misfits questions, he won't answer them. Bobby doesn't answer them. He goes, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Oh, no, I'm sure, dude. And if the fact, no, I'm sure he doesn't mind. Listen, wait. I really do not get it twisted. I don't know that for a fact, dude. I don't know that for a fact. I just think that, and I'm sure that's cool, man. You know what it is? It's just that, like, I'm listening. If you, Tanner, go and listen to some Bobby interviews, between 2015 to because I was listening to these for 1979 to put in the final product. And every time the interviewer will ask him a question about the Misfits, he'll be like, I don't want to talk about the Misfits anymore. That was 2 years of my life 40 years ago. I'd rather talk about the Undead, or, he doesn't like to talk about this stuff anymore. Or he, at that time, which made me realize, wow, the interviews that I have are very precious and special, because, he just doesn't seem to, I don't know, it's just not about it at the moment. But I'm sure in that friendly, sociable setting, he probably doesn't mind. I don't know. I don't want to speak for Bobby. I don't. And I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. That's bad on me. So I just want to, I don't want to get myself into trouble here saying things I don't actually know. But that's what it seems like from some of the podcasts that I've listened to with Bobby on them recently. Okay, enough about that. In any case, this is from the MySpace days. Remember, it was right around this time. Totally makes sense. Can't wait to see 19. Tanner, Tanner, I will talk to you after this show. Hold on. Tanner, it's going to be available on YouTube, but hold on. We'll talk in a minute. So MySpace, right? So in 2007, Bobby was super active. As a matter of fact, Bobby first premiered, the reason why anybody even has it, 12 Hits from Hell Uncovered by the Undead, came from Bobby's MySpace channel. He couldn't put it out legally. I don't think he ever pressed them up. Maybe he did a very limited run. I don't think he sold them. He couldn't. But, Glenn had said in an interview, like, oh, Bobby is a terrible guitar player, or some nonsense. And Bobby, to prove everybody wrong, or to, make a statement, he recorded the entire album, called it 12 Hits Uncovered. So if you can seek that out, I think it's actually available on YouTube. Seek that out. It's it's fun to hear the Undead, Bobby in Postmortem Studios, aka the attic in his parents' house, where he did a lot of recording. They tracked that whole album. So yeah. Anyway, he would post these blogs. This is one of the blogs, and this is where I first heard the story from Bobby's perspective. And I'm sure if you ask Glenn be like, no, that's not what happened. No, he's lying. He's full of poop. You notice how I didn't curse there? I said poop. because I'm trying not to curse on YouTube. Super hard, by the way. Remember my first episode where I was just like, effing this, effing that, effing. When I was talking with Loki for Pizza Punk, I just couldn't stop cursing. It was just ridiculous. Maybe that was just like the New York, New Jersey connection of like, hey guys, we're talking and the effing this, effing that. All right, I'm enough preamble. I'm gonna read this now. Okay. So this is Beware the Misfits. This is from Bobby's Voice. Okay. On one of our weekends in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania in September of 19... Oh my God, I could have used this for 1979. Oh, that was so stupid of me. Well, how was I supposed to know? I could have used this. Mike says, saw the Undead along with Doomtree. Doomtree was Steve Zing's band before it became Mara's Drug, which is now Black 29, and Cancer Slug. Early 2000s in Johnson City, Tennessee at a one-off horror fest. Great to see Bobby perform. Yeah, Bobby was fun with the Undead, man. I used to see the Undead all the time. I used to go down to Tompkins Square Park and see the Undead. I saw them in 2006, saw them in 2008, saw them a couple times in 2010, 2011. Always fun. And I'll tell you something else about Bobby. He really, those 7 inches that he put out, he put a lot of effort into those things, man. Like that I Want You Dead 7 inches, pretty friggin' awesome. I'm glad I have that one, and I made a monster one. Those are pretty great. All right. Sorry. Too much distraction. Let's get back to this. On one of our weekends in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania in September 1979, a friend who owned a record store told us of an acquaintance who was running a distribution company and had oh my God, I needed this for 1979. This is how they got, I so don't want to like, the completionist in me is like, this is like another piece of like the puzzle that I was trying to like string everything together. The completionist of me wants to go back and slip this into the chrono time stream. It's not going to happen. Forget it. All right. Sorry. So they were doing those 2 Bethlehem shows. They did, they were at, what was the name? 4th Street Saloon. And they did record store signings, and they did 2 shows each. And this is where Live the Perfect Crime, the bootleg version of, what is that? Horror Business. It's like a live horror business from 1979. It's the only other recording of the Horror Business band besides the Max's Kansas City show that exists. Came from that tape, which Bobby was in possession of. That's all I will say about that. So an acquaintance was running a distribution company and had expressed an interest in releasing a Misfits record for the UK market, which was great. What a great thing. We were put in contact with Pete Dyer at Caroline Records. Whoa. And that's the Caroline Records connection. Mind you, I literally have not read this in 13 years. I have not read this in 13 years. Not only have I not read this in 13 years, but I read this before I started, professionally attempting to document this band. So therefore, wow, this is blowing my mind. So the Caroline connection started all the way back in 1979. It did not start in 1985 or 84. Interesting. They were put in contact with Pete Dyer at Caroline Records, and Glenn negotiated a deal to release our 2 current releases, the Bullet and Horror Business EPs, as a 12-inch. That was the easy part. Glenn told me he didn't want to include Children in Heat on this mini LP, but wanted to select a track from the as yet unreleased Static Age session. His initial choice narrowed around the selection. His initial choice narrowed the selection down to She, Return of the Fly, and Theme for a Jackal. I suggested that we should use Last Caress, but Glenn initially rejected my suggestion, saying, "I'm tired of that song." I pressed further, pointing out that he was the only person who had grown tired of that song, and that if it was used on the new 12-inch, it'll make us famous. Now, what is fascinating about that? Yeah, right. Oh my God. Actually, I mean, 1979 really stops when they come back from England. I didn't even bother. I didn't get into how Bobby was left the band or any of that stuff. It's just about the year 1979, and 1979 ends in England, and that's it. That's the end, right? In any case, um, Latin Last Caress is their Blitzkrieg bop, right? It's their most icon, one of their most iconic songs, and Glenn doesn't think much of it. Bobby's saying to put it on, and you want to know what's funny? I mean, I'm sure so many people out there don't want to give Bobby this credit. They don't want to give Bobby the credit. You know who you are. You know who you are. Um, but I guess if this is true, if what Bobby is saying is true, then mother effing Bobby Steele is responsible for Last Caress being put on this early release because it's not on anything else, right? Last Caress wouldn't come out again until Collection 2. When does Collection 2 come out? Somebody tell me when Collection 2 comes out. All right, I'll look it up. Looking it up. Misfits Collection 2 came out in what? Okay. So Misfits Collection 2 was recorded August, when they re-recorded stuff in August of 1986, but it didn't officially come out until November 14th, 1995. So it's coming up on its in 6 days, it'll be the 25th anniversary of Collection 2. That's when the world at large, if you didn't own Beware, if you didn't have Static Age wouldn't come out for another year, right? So if you didn't own a copy of Beware, and if you didn't have a bootleg, right, then you didn't know what Last Caress was in, say, 1991, 1992. Isn't that fascinating to think? Once again, just like what we talked about, like what 1993 was for the Misfits, in like 1989, if you didn't have a Beware record, if you didn't have one of the Static Age runoff tapes that, the Inner Circle was presented with, if you weren't Metallica, then you didn't have Last Caress. Last Caress really breaks into the greater conscious. Well, that's not true. It's on bootlegs. Definitely on a ton of bootlegs. That was wrong of me. All right. But let's say that you're not into collecting bootlegs, then you don't know what it is. But you do, because Metallica made it famous on Garage Days, and that was in the 80s. So, wow, I think I just totally didn't make any sense just now with what I was saying. Still interesting to think about, though. But Metallica hears Last Caress from the Beware EP, right? I'm sure Cliff Burton had it. Cliff Burton had the Beware EP. Misfits are like, holy crap. Last Caress is bad as F. We got a bad AF, and we gotta put that out. We gotta play that. We gotta cover that. Eventually he gave in and he opted for Last Caress. I often wonder how different history would have been if Glenn hadn't taken this bit of advice. See, here's what's interesting. On one hand, you can go, oh, that's Bobby trying to insert himself and make himself more important than maybe he really was in that particular situation. But on the other hand, Bobby's account is so detailed. It's totally from his point of view. Bobby has a pretty good memory. I could totally imagine this happening, and Bobby, being the impetus. Would Glenn ever think so? Would Glenn ever think so? Cliff Burton made tapes with Misfit songs so the band could hear it on the road. So yeah, so the band had heard Last Caress. So that's really, so Beware is how Metallica hears Last Caress. See how that, it's like the butterfly effect. You see how it just like sort of like ripples out into time and whatnot? It's very, very interesting. Okay. In any case, how different. So he's saying it will be very, very different. There would be a very different history if Glenn had not listened to Bobby. I'm kind of wondering why Jerry wasn't in the room. Why wasn't Jerry there? Why was Bobby there? It was interesting. And I wouldn't expect Joey to be there, especially after what we heard in 1979. Joey was sort of like, Joey didn't really know much about anything in that sort of way. At one point, they wanted Joey to be a friggin' session player, nothing more. Without it, Metallica never would have been able to expose the world to our music. Last Caress was the song that ultimately led to the entire phenomenon we now know. Without it, Metallica would have never been able to expose the world to our music. We went back to CI Studios in New York City in October. He remembers so much stuff. I totally believe this is what happened. Yes, it benefits Bobby. Again, all these guys, they like to rewrite history or, kind of bend history towards their perspective. But I don't see how this is false. I really don't. I wonder if Glenn would give him the credit. I doubt it. He wouldn't. In a few weeks, we would be heading to England to embark on a tour with the Damned, and we'd bring the master tape and the package design in person rather than risk shipping the items. This should have gone in 1979. I'm so mad right now. I'm so pissed. As far as I know, I have the only existing copy of these remixes. Wait, what? Well, not any. He definitely doesn't anymore. Wait, let's rewind that. In a few weeks, we would be heading to England to embark on a tour with the Damned, and we'd bring the master tape and package design. So this is remember what Joey said in 1979 in that one of the interviews that I put in 1979. He's talking about how Glenn and Jerry had brought along their merch and stuff like that. He's probably talking about this, and they probably got a bunch of runoff copies of Beware to sort of sell around or to shop around and whatnot. I wonder if that was all this. That's all the business that they were doing. In addition, when they're running out while they're leaving Joey, to hang around in England, at the flat at the hotel, that's what they're off doing, that sort of thing. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And then he says, as far as I know, I have the only existing copy of these remixes. Now, what's interesting, I don't understand. Don't we all have if you have Beware, then you have the remixes, right? I gotta check that out. The Beware remixes mixes are different. I wonder if it really stands out. When we arrived at customs in London, they inquired about the master tape and argued that some records sell 1 million copies and initially demanded we pay taxes on the income of a potential 1 million copies. See, this is stuff that slips through the cracks. This is why you interview, outside of, it's not just about Glenn, Jerry, and Doyle. This is why you interview, because these guys, what do you think Jerry is ever going to talk about this? Glenn did ultimately convince them that punk records were lucky to sell a few thousand, and we were allowed to bring the tape into the country. So they might not have even gotten the tape into the country because of customs in London thinking that they were going to sell 1 million copies, which they would in a weird roundabout kind of way. They would. Originally, the mini LP was simply titled The Misfits. Interesting. That I don't remember at all. So originally, Beware was going to be called The Misfits, self-titled. But as we wandered the streets of London, we kept noticing cryptic signs warning us, beware bollards. And not knowing what a bollard was, we joke that it must be some monster that would jump out from behind the bushes. See, another detail that I feel like Glenn Danzig, he doesn't remember that. Jerry only doesn't remember that. Do I know? I don't know. I don't honestly know. But I just love that Bobby remembers this, man, because this is the stuff that gets lost to time. I could totally imagine a band being abroad, bunch of Americans, bunch of New Jersey kids being abroad, having inside jokes about foreign things, foreign culture things that they don't understand. Okay, thank you, Tanner. I'll take a look. Take a look when I'm done. Freaking. We joke that it must be some kind of monster that would jump from behind the bushes. For the uninformed, we now know that a bollard is nothing more than the permanent pylons that prevent vehicles from accidentally running up onto the sidewalk. As a joke, Glenn just scribbled the word beware on a piece of paper and slapped it on the artwork. We now had an official name for our first UK release. You know the rest. So what's interesting about all that is you have once again, just the way that Glenn just randomly wrote the Misfits, and it becomes like that first logo, and it becomes like this thing, this thing that everybody friggin' loves, and like emulates. I love it. I love that logo, the original logo, the one that he thought Minor Threat was copying. Um, I love that. I love that stuff. And uh, once again, randomly scribbled something on a piece of paper, slapped it on, and there's Beware, immortalized for all time. The Misfits, Beware. It's what you think it would have been called. Beware the Misfits. That would have made a little bit more sense. God, it's only 55 minutes, man. I mean, I guess that's it's a real short episode this week. I don't know. It is 10:30. I have been up all night. I've been doing a lot of stuff, so maybe we'll land the airplane. But we have so many people watching. I do have another piece of content. I guess we could read. It's a little bit longer. Maybe we should save it for another day, a rainy day. It's too much of a smattering of stuff. Yeah. All right. So, listen, if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to my channel. Please, all of you. I see all of you watching. Please subscribe to this channel. Like this video. Leave a comment on this video. This really helps support the channel. Again, if you dig this content, if you dig 1979, if you watch 1979, if you like this content, if you like Glenn, wait, what? Glenn on his orders forms always wrote Beware the Misfits. Yeah, that's great. What order forms for like Fiend Club stuff, Tanner, or like just like other stuff? Like what you got to be more specific about that. I saw, by the way, I saw somewhere online, I don't remember where it was. I saw contracts for the Misfits, like tour contracts from 1982. I thought that was pretty interesting. In any case, look, please subscribe to this channel. We do live shows every Sunday. Maybe every once in a while we'll throw in another one. I try to space these out because eventually we're going to run out of stuff to talk about, and the show will end, and it will be such a sad day. But I have a bunch of stuff coming in the next few weeks. I do. I've actually lined up some stuff. I got to talk to this guy. We're going to do the New Zealand story. We got another interview coming up, another Jerry Only interview. We're gonna take a look at Jerry Only of the year 2003. Maybe we'll do that next week. We also have some more Bobby Steele blogs to review, and most importantly, there are these essays. There are these weird Misfits essays. People write theses about the Misfits in college. We're going to take a look at one of those as well. Tanner says Fiend Club, and when he would send the list of what he had available to record stores to distribute. Interesting. That's pretty interesting. All right. Listen, thank you, everybody. I think we're gonna wait 2 more minutes until we hit 1 hour. Exactly 1 hour. We're gonna stop this show. It was a short show, but remember, I mean, I did a 2-hour show on Wednesday. They can't always be 2 hours. I mean, they can, but there'll be. I mean, half of this episode is filler. It's a shame, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I thought that Bobby Steele content was pretty fun. Thanks, Oni. Thanks, Adam. Thank you guys for tuning in. Seriously, you make the channel. You really help a lot just by watching it live. That really helps the channel, boosts us up in the algorithm. But that's why I said turn on notifications so you know when we're going live. We got more Pizza Punk coming. If you didn't see it, there was a Pizza Punk with JV and I from Blitzkid and Mr. Monster and Darrow Chemical Company and Michael Graves Band. We caught up, had a really long conversation. Check that out. There's a playlist for that. And stalling a little bit for like I said, 1979, the YouTube version is coming. There's a more complete version that is no longer available unless you know the right kind of guy. So we can, you'll see, maybe you get a hold of it, maybe you won't. And yeah, man, just 30 more seconds till we hit an hour, because I have obsessive compulsive disorder and I want it to be rounded out at exactly 1 hour. And so I will just filibuster and filibuster and filibuster. And Yeah, I've got another show called Jeff Reed's Wikipedia, where we talk, where I find weird Wikipedia articles and read them and do the same sort of commentary that I do here. I was trying to take, how can I take this Misfits commentary stuff and sort of expand it outside of the Misfits, so I can continue doing it. Super excited for my next Pizza Punk episode. Winston Smith says, deep dive and loving it. Deep dive and love it. Yeah, that's right. My next Pizza Punk episode is very special to me. I really admire this musician a lot. Some of you may be familiar with him, and perhaps if you watch my content and like this content, you will appreciate this dude and his band after you see out my interview with him. So, and we got a couple more Pizza Punk interviews coming up. So anyway, thank you so much. Peace, hair grease. I'll talk to y'all real soon. Okay. Have a good week.